Have you ever noticed some people walk into a room and almost instantly earn respect? Not because they're louder, not because they're richer, not because they're the most attractive. Yet, somehow, people listen when they speak. People trust what they say. And people naturally value their presence. Noir noticed this too. She used to believe respect was something you had to chase. Maybe by proving yourself. Maybe by always saying yes. Maybe by trying to impress everyone. But psychology tells a very different story. Respect isn't usually won through perfection. It's built through patterns. Small habits repeated over time that quietly change the way people see you. Today, let's decode the psychology behind those habits. Because once you understand them, you'll start seeing respect differently. The first habit is keeping your promises. Imagine two people. The first always makes exciting promises. I'll call you. I'll help you. I'll be there. But somehow something always comes up. Now imagine someone else. They don't promise much. But every single time they say they'll do something, they actually do it. Who would you trust more? Psychologists call this behavioral consistency. Our brains naturally trust people whose actions consistently match their words. Not because they're perfect, but because they're predictable. Humans crave predictability. It helps our brains feel safe. Every promise you keep, even a tiny one, becomes evidence. Evidence that you're reliable. And reliability quietly becomes respect. People may forget what you said, but they rarely forget whether they could count on you. The second habit is staying calm when everyone else is emotional. Think about the last disagreement you witnessed. One person raised their voice, interrupted, reacted instantly. The other person paused, listened, spoke slowly. Who seemed more powerful? Most people assume power comes from reacting first. Psychology suggests the opposite. Emotional regulation, the ability to manage your emotions instead of letting them manage you, is often perceived as confidence. When someone stays calm under pressure, our brains interpret it as competence. Because if they're not controlled by the situation, they must understand it. This doesn't mean hiding your emotions. It means choosing your response instead of becoming your reaction. Sometimes, the strongest sentence you can say comes after a few seconds of silence. The third habit is giving people your full attention. Here's something surprising. People don't always remember the smartest person they met, but they almost always remember the person who made them feel understood. Have you ever spoken to someone who kept checking their phone, looking around the room, interrupting before you finished? It feels exhausting. Now think about someone who looked you in the eyes, listened without rushing, asked thoughtful questions. How did that feel? Psychologists often describe this through the principle of active listening. When people feel heard, their brains associate that feeling with the person in front of them. It's one of the fastest ways to build trust. Ironically, trying too hard to sound impressive often pushes people away, but genuine curiosity pulls them closer. Respect grows when people feel respected first. The fourth habit is having boundaries. This one surprises a lot of people. Many believe being available all the time makes others value them more, but it often has the opposite effect. Imagine someone who says yes to everything, every request, every favor, every invitation. At first, they seem kind. Eventually, people begin expecting it. Now imagine someone who politely says, "I can't today," or "I need some time," without guilt, without anger, just honesty. Healthy boundaries communicate something important. They tell people, "I respect my time." And strangely, people often begin respecting it too. Psychology shows that people who value themselves are often perceived as more valuable by others. Boundaries aren't walls. They're filters. They protect your energy. so your kindness remains genuine. The fifth habit is admitting when you're wrong. Most people think respect disappears when you make a mistake. Actually, the opposite often happens. Imagine two coworkers. One blames everyone else, makes excuses, defends every mistake. The other simply says, "You're right. I made that mistake. I'll fix it." Who feels more trustworthy? Psychologists call this intellectual humility. People naturally trust those who can acknowledge they don't know everything. Because confidence isn't pretending to be flawless. Confidence is knowing your worth even when you're imperfect. Admitting you're wrong doesn't shrink your credibility. Constantly avoiding responsibility does. The sixth habit is speaking less but saying something meaningful. Have you noticed? The loudest person isn't always the most respected. Sometimes, the quietest person speaks, and suddenly everyone listens. Why? Scarcity. Our brains naturally assign more value to things that appear less frequently. If someone talks nonstop, their words begin blending into the background. But when someone speaks thoughtfully after observing people pay attention, this doesn't mean staying silent forever. It means speaking with intention. Not every thought needs to become words. Sometimes, your pause says more than your opinion. The seventh habit is treating everyone with respect. Not just people who can benefit you. Watch how someone treats a waiter, a cleaner, a receptionist, someone who has nothing to offer them. It reveals more about their character than how they treat their boss. Psychologists call this consistency of character. Our brains notice fairness. When kindness changes depending on status, people unconsciously lose trust. But when respect remains constant, regardless of who someone is, it creates something powerful. Integrity. And integrity is difficult to fake. So what do all these habits have in common? None of them require you to become louder, richer, more attractive, or more popular. They're quiet habits, invisible at first, but over time they completely change how people experience you. Because respect isn't something you demand. It's something people decide to give after repeatedly observing your actions. Noir finally understood that the people she admired weren't perfect. They were consistent. They kept their word. They stayed calm. They listened. They respected themselves. They respected others. And they chose their actions carefully, even when nobody was watching. Maybe that's the real psychology of respect. It's not built in one conversation. It's built one habit at a time. So, here's something to think about. If someone watched only your actions this week and never heard a single word you said, what kind of person would they believe you are? Stay curious. Because understanding people always begins with understanding yourself. And if you're curious about the hidden patterns shaping human behavior, follow TheNoirPsyche. There's always another layer of the mind waiting to be uncovered.